Welcome to the REI Hacker Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of real estate success. Join us as we dive into the journeys of top investors, mentors, and industry experts. Learn from their experiences and navigate the highs and lows of the investing world. And now, let's hand it off to our host, Benson Juarez.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here on this edition of the REI Hacker Podcast. I'm really excited because my friend David Olds is with me. David is a seasoned real estate investor. He's based out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. David founded ezREI Closings, a virtual transaction coordination company that serves investors and wholesalers nationwide. David, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me, man. I feel like I made the big time.
Yeah, I like that background there. I think I purchased that.
Yeah.
It looks really cool.
Yeah,
Was it
they're
difficult to put up?
no, they're plastic panels from Amazon. They just went up
Yeah.
with liquid, and then I just have the neon light hanging, and yeah,
Looks really good.
thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
I need that professional microphone you got though. That looks like some WKRP in Cincinnati stuff there. That's
Yeah.
the real.
Yeah,
I'm
like a good,
to see.
6 or 7 years ago, we bought this whole setup.
Yeah.
If you're interested, I can show you. I'll get you the info so you can set it up. It's pretty
Nice.
inexpensive, but it sounds great. It's got good sound, and you're right, it does make me look professional, which is
Dude, it does.
the goal, right? Like
the
fake it
little road
till you make it.
Right.
Right? We've all heard that. But you and I, we got to hang out a little bit when we were out in Dallas this last week. We're at a pretty cool conference called Investor Fuel. Mike Hannabright put it on. Yeah, and you were there, and you got a chance to talk about your service, ezREI Closings, really what I think is a service that the industry absolutely needs. There's so many people out there trying to do transaction coordination in-house, or they're outsourcing it to companies that don't know what they're doing, and you guys have been around for a long time.
Yeah, we've been doing this. We're coming up on 3.5, 4 years now. It's been kind of a long time. There's definitely a need for it. And that was one of the things that we realized about 5 years ago was, and kind of the way it came about is I've been an investor for 22 years, which is just a ridiculous amount of time when I think back on it. But full time since 2009, so 15 years doing that. But as we grew and went nationwide, and we were kind of bouncing all over the countryside, it becomes a real challenge to find title companies that will close your deals, right? And interestingly, two things really hung me up when we went virtual the first time, because when we did it in 2015, it wasn't a thing, right? People weren't coaching on it. There weren't 1,000 YouTube videos, but one was getting pictures, right? For some reason, I had this mental block about how we were going to get pictures, and we figured that out. But the other one was finding title companies, because one thing that we know that not all title companies are created equal. Not everybody wants to deal with investors, because let's be honest, we bring the crazy, right? We seem to always find a way to get the weirdest deals that are the most complicated, that have the most number of problems. And if you owned a title company, what would you want? You'd want the easy $500,000 houses that were bought 3 years ago. It's an easy title policy. Bing, bang, boom. You're in, you're out. You make a bunch of money. Whereas investors, our first job is to help people, of course, but the second job is to solve problems. And the more problems we can solve, the deeper discount we can get. Well, those problems, right? You kind of have this bucket of problems when you're buying some properties with, whether it's death, divorce, taxes, probate, bad tenants, whatever. But then on the other side, right, if we're keeping it for ourselves, or if we're selling it or wholesaling it or novating it, whatever it is, we tell those buyers, hey, we're going to give you clear title and proration of taxes. So something has to happen in the middle there to clean up all those problems. And initially I was doing it in my company, and that was super time consuming. And finally, as we grew, I started hiring in some transaction coordinators in my own company. And that was really when I honestly, I probably saw the biggest growth in our business, because now I wasn't stuck in the mud calling, looking for death certificates, getting missing trust documents, herding 6 heirs who all have to show up and sign. That's like herding cats on crack. And all that stuff was being handled by somebody else who was, obviously a cheaper person than me. And then I was out, focusing on my business. And that's when we saw that just kind of rapid up into the right growth. So so yeah, as you know, we sort of fell back into this business, kind of backwards into it. COVID happened, and lots of my friends who owned really big wholesaling companies, they had initially remember when COVID started, it was like everybody like laid off their staff and everybody got really nervous. And then it took off like 5 weeks later. Well, we had kept ours, but some other friends had laid their TCs off and they were calling, hey, who can we use? Can we do this? Can your people help us? So that was kind of how it started, just helping out a couple of friends. And then we're like, oh, well, this is a thing. Not only do we need this, but like everybody needs this. And if you're a small company, having somebody like us work for you gives you this real sense of a big office and professionalism. And, so yeah, that's a little bit of how it kind of got started.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people that get in this business from the wholesaling perspective, they're trying to figure out so many different things, right?
Mhm.
They're trying to figure out acquisition and disposition. And that's really the only thing you hear people talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
reason why they don't talk about transaction coordination is because most people don't get that far. Right. But then when they do, they're like, oh my God, there's this whole other, like the most important part of the business is getting that thing to closing. You worked so hard, you're spending money potentially on marketing, you're out
Yeah.
there building these, strong relationships with buyers. And if you don't pay attention to this TC element in the middle, deals are going to fall apart and you're going to burn relationships with buyers. And it only takes one time to ruin that.
Right. Exactly. You're exactly 100% right. We spend so much money on marketing, right? Whether you're doing off-market stuff with Privy or PPC or, all the different things. And that's so time consuming. And then we're working so hard to get on the phone and build rapport and, get these deals inked, on the front side, your AB contract. And then, maybe you've got an end buyer, you're going to wholesale this thing and you don't understand how to get it to the closing line. And what that means is a couple of ways that can go sideways. First one is you just take it to the wrong title company, right? You take it to a title company that's used to dealing with realtors, and you've gotten just a basic assignment of contract, and they're like, nope, can't do that. That's illegal. And which is silly and it's crazy, but you know, a lot of people will take that as a fact and they'll throw their contract, just throw it away. And that I remember that happening to me when I first got started. We had a title attorney here in town. His name is Jeremy. I won't give you his last name, but he every time I would go over there, like one out of every three times, oh, Davey, this is a probate deal. You're gonna have to go through probate. Oh, this one is tax deed. You're gonna have to go get a suit for quiet title. Oh, like it was like constantly. It was so much so that I called this guy Dr. No. Like I nicknamed him Dr. No as like the James Bond villain because every time it was costing me 8, 10, 12, $15,000 because I was having to call these people and cancel and tell them that I couldn't buy their contracts or buy their property. And I remember this one time I was so frustrated. I had just come from this woman's house. I'll remember this forever. And I go in there, I'm like, here, Jeremy, here's this new contract. And he's like, well, what's going on with it? And I told him, and he's like, oh, man, you really need to have her get with a probate attorney. And, because her husband was died. I'm like, dude, come on. Like, it was just a day where I just hit the wall. I just couldn't take one more no. I'm like, there has got to be something we could do. And I was a lot louder than that. And I'm like, man, what would you do? There's got to be a way to get this thing solved. And he's like, well, I guess if you can get, the death certificate and this other thing and this other thing, and, all the heirs will sign it and these other two things, yeah, I guess I could close it. I'm like, bro, what have we been doing for all these deals I've been throwing away? You're telling me we could have solved it? Well, yeah, yeah, maybe. Oh, I was mad, right? But that's one of those things where it kind of was seared into my brain of learning how to ask better questions. And, not always, but most of the time, there is a way
Right.
to navigate kind of the whitewater rapids of title and not hit the rocks and blow up your deal. So yeah, so that's something that's of course was important to me, and same thing for our clients, making sure that we're taking good care of.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this whole idea of virtual wholesaling is so glamorous, right? It's a buzzword. I'm a virtual wholesaler, and they're out trying to do deals in 20 different states, right? Which means they're not doing deals well in any one state because they're spread so thin.
Yeah.
And then they have to try to find these title companies. So, like, what have you done to find the right title companies that are investor friendly and understand how to handle these deals?
It was a challenge. I'll tell you, the fantasy of my mind as an entrepreneur when I started this company was I'll find one nationwide title company, which is really a misnomer. There really is no such thing as, there is no title company that's licensed in all 50 states, first off. None, not a single one, not even First American, who is the biggest underwriter and has their own title companies. Even they are not licensed in all 50 states because it's very complicated. But anyways, so when it started, I'm like, oh, I'll get this one nationwide title company. It'll be great for my team. They'll have one set of people to deal with. And we grew so fast, we just broke them. We gave them too many files. They couldn't handle it. They said we could take all your files, but they can't. They can't. Nobody's built for that. So what happened was we literally were getting on the phone with title companies. Sometimes our clients would recommend people, but other times we're in West Virginia and we would call title company after title company after title company and vet them. And our team, we're the people dealing with these deals. We understand how to talk to title companies, right? You can't call them up and say, hey, I'm doing this assignment of contract, but I don't want the seller to to see what I'm doing. And people, wholesalers sometimes will say stuff that raises a lot of red flags just because they don't understand how to present it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, as a combination of our own network, our clients, and us just literally cold calling hundreds of title companies, we found title companies in every state who will do all of the deals. And it's never one title company. Like one person, even if they do wholesale deals, they may not do a novation. And if they do a novation, they may not do subto. And just because they do subto, they may be averse to doing a subto assignment, right? So
Right.
that's taken some time. So, and the other answer for us was we decided to open our own in-house title company. So we're licensed in like 9 or 11 states right now and growing. So we do that, and then we have a direct partnership with First American that we can close through, their partner title company. So that was the ultimate solution for us, was because we sat and thought, kind of exactly the way you guys do at Privy, how do we get the best experience for our clients, right? And for us and for our clients, that means getting them paid quickly, right? We all, it's cash conversion cycle, so how quickly can we go from the moment they have their deal signed to the moment they get paid? And as much as that process as we can control, the better. So that was the reason we decided to open our title company.
Yeah, that's a smart move.
Yeah.
I can imagine it's a pretty large undertaking to launch a title company that's even in 9 to 11 states.
I thought it was going to be the simplest thing ever. I'm like, we're smart. We can figure this out. We'll get this up and running in 6 months. And it's been probably like 14 months now, but it was a lot of work. We opened it as a separate entity. I brought in another partner who had actually run title companies before, just because you don't know what you don't know. And even being in the industry 20 years, it's interesting. I thought I knew what title companies did, and I really didn't. Like I had to have my partner Megan like whiteboarded out for me all the different steps, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of steps that go into it, and it's a very risky business. A lot of times we'll have people say, oh, just force a title company to do it, but it's an insurance game.
Right.
It's all about risk and reward. And when you're looking at these files and you're overriding what your underwriter says, if it's $100,000 deal, if I override what First American says, I'm going on the hook if your deal goes sideways, right? If there's a payout, it's going to be on me. You know what I mean? So we have to be very careful, and we want to always err on the side of our clients, but not put ourselves in danger where we could have to pay out on these things.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you still pretty active in doing deals? I know you've been an investor for 20 years,
Yeah.
and you've done tons of fix and flips and wholesale transactions and probably everything underneath the sun. What are you spending your time on now?
Well, when I first started this company, I was coaching, and I had a wholesale company at the same time. First thing I gave up was the coaching. While it's a great business and I love helping people, it just takes up a lot of time, and I needed to focus on the wholesaling and the transactions company. And then last year, the transaction company was growing so much. I tried to bring in a couple sales managers to run the wholesale company and just couldn't find the right fit. And we ended up shutting it down. And now just the only thing we do is transactions. That's it. That's all we do every day. We have almost 20 people in our office here, and all we do all day is make sure people's deals get closed.
What's the biggest nightmare deal you guys have ever had to try to close?
Oh, all the time. Nightmare deals. I mean, this is what I tell people, Vincent. I'm like, close your eyes and think of the worst deal you've ever had. That's a Tuesday for us. Like your worst deal is probably like that. My team would be like, we did that the other day.
Yeah.
We've done some with like 18 heirs where we've had to, herd them all up. And it's like herding cats on crack to get them. We've done deals where people in other countries where we've got to get them to an embassy or a consulate so that they can get, a U.S. notary.
Wow.
Lots of times people in prison. People in prison are actually the best because they're the easiest to find because they're not
Right.
going anyplace. And every prison has a notary, so you can get those done pretty easy. Um, the big thing right now is fraud. We're seeing a lot of fraud where every so often it's somebody who is not connected to the properties trying to sell it. And we've seen people like creating fake IDs, fake notary stamps. Like it gets pretty creative out there what these people will do. But most of the time the fraud is one of five siblings who's trying to sell it and get all the money. You know what I mean?
Right.
That team, they're great at, pulling obituaries and seeing who all the heirs are. Hey, Bob, what about Susie, Penelope, Josie, and Tim? Oh, they're in Europe. Well, we still have to talk to them. And then
Right.
they're here, but they don't want anything to do with it. Well, we still have to talk to them. Oh, well. So lots of family fraud. That's probably one of the biggest things, which is just shocking.
Yeah. Well, and I pictured title companies just working with paperwork, but you're actually having to work with people,
Yeah, oh
right?
yeah.
And these people are trying to get over on you potentially. And listen, if I was a crook and David Olds somehow had a hand in taking money out of my pocket,
Mhm.
I might want to talk to you. Has
Yeah.
that ever happened? Have you ever had somebody like threaten you or try to come after you because you
No, but they
didn't
get
help them?
fired up. Usually what happens is they start with one of my coordinators, and all my coordinators know you get somebody that's belligerent, just hold please, and then they get me, and then it's a different conversation. They tend to not be as rude to me. And I'll, being the owner, I can say things that most of my employees won't say. But no, it's crazy. The people that are doing stuff like that, a big telltale sign is they don't ever want to get on the phone. They always want to do stuff through email and text. It's like a really hard time to get them on the phone. Or we'll say, hey, let's jump on a quick Zoom so I can, verify you and your ID, stuff like that. So they're really good at sniffing that stuff out now. Like they can pick it up coming a mile away because we've seen it so many times.
Right.
But no, I mean, if they want, come on down, 5312 Ringgold Road, East Ridge, Tennessee. Come on down, just knock on the door. Let me know.
Yeah.
That's what you
Let you
think you
get
want to.
ready.
Yeah, come on down, bring your friends.
What's is there a state that you guys work with that it's just like it's the nightmare state? Like they're
Yeah,
the hardest to get deals to go through?
New York,
New
New York.
York.
Yeah, you can make a lot of money there because it's such a pain that most people won't go up there. And what makes it a challenge is that the buyer and the seller both have to have an attorney represented by an attorney. So, anytime you get attorneys, they get paid by the email, right? Like I feel like they get paid by the word. So sometimes, like we're doing one today, I was over talking to my client success manager, and she said she was dealing with a thing, and two attorneys were fighting with each other, which just slows it down. But one of our first deals in New York, I remember we had the coordinators and two attorneys, paralegals, like agents, like the whole, like it's an innovation. So, everybody's involved, and they were counting it, and it was over 200 emails long, this chain of emails to get this property closed, because it's just one question after another, back and forth, and it's so time consuming. And that's where we can step in, and you can go keep doing your business, and we'll deal with all that stuff and make sure that it's going to get over the closing line. But New York's a challenge. Um, New Jersey, some of the New England states, any place where they require to have two attorneys, that can be fun.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Well, I heard a rumor that you actually were gonna be an attorney at one point. Like,
I
didn't
was,
you have a goal of being an attorney and then change your mind?
I told you that. Yeah. In fact, I was just telling somebody that story. One of my girls who was talking about going to law school. Yeah, originally I did. It was in the probably in the mid 80s. My cousin was an attorney down in Miami. And I was like a high school kid. So I'm like, oh, I want to be an attorney like LA Law, I want Corbin Burns and have the fancy suit and everything. And after talking to him, like and finding out what their real life was, which for your first 4 or 5 years as a junior associate is sitting in a law library. It's not being in court like Perry Mason, cross-examining people, right?
Right.
It wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be, and decided not to go do that. So yeah, yeah, that's true. That was what I was going to do. In fact, my partner in the title company, her husband's currently in in law school, and he'll graduate next year. So he'll be our in-house counsel.
Oh, that's nice. Hiring from within.
Yep.
You could mold him in who you want him to be.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's super smart. So we'll be lucky to have him. Plus, he's going just to focus on real estate. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So tell me about one of the transactions that was like really close to just dying. Like it was dead on the vine.
Mhm.
You know, you had angry buyers, angry sellers, but somehow you pulled it out of your you know what, and you saved the deal,
Yeah,
and everybody made a bunch of money,
yeah.
and they were like, "Thank you." Like, tell me about that transaction.
Yeah, lots of those. And first off, I don't personally handle any of the deals. I have an amazing team, so I don't want to ever mislead anybody that I'm now the person that does this with 20 coordinators. But there was one not too long ago, maybe a week or so ago, that was like ready to go to the foreclosure steps, and the seller was just in tears. She was going to lose the property and not make any money from it. Of course, the wholesaler was wound up because it was going to be a $40,000 or $50,000 assignment fee. And our team was able to get on the phone, actually get a hold of the trustee who was handling the foreclosure, and literally like hours before get it stopped, because we were able to show the buyer's proof of funds and all the contracts and get it stopped. And we got him to postpone it for 1 week, and that gave us enough time to close the deal. So we're not like foreclosure rescue people, but if we have all the paperwork and there's proof of funds and we can show that we're going to get this thing closed. And now, because we deal with so many of these people in so many different states, like they recognize that, if we're working on a file, it's probably going to get closed. So
Oh yeah.
that's something that has been an interesting part of this business is, because we did over 2,200 files last year, like we get the attention of a lot of people, right? We've had the VP for First American, for Fidelity in our office, because they want to come here to get all this business, because we control such a big portion of it.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's always fun, a little bit humbling, but fun at the same time.
Oh yeah. Well, title companies have deep pockets,
Yeah.
right? And there's RESPA, but I don't see any violation there. Earning your business
Yeah.
as a TC coordination company.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
it's like so many moving parts. Even if it was just one state,
Yeah.
like think about all of the ways that a file can blow up
So
just
many.
in one state, because that state has certain laws and there's certain things that are customary, and
Yeah.
there's certain things that are done. And now you're doing all those different scenarios in 50 different states. I can imagine
It's
it's
nutty.
like messy. I'm just picturing like this board of yarn, and there's just lines going everywhere, and you're just
Yeah.
trying to keep it all together. A
Yeah. We make
lot of
sure.
sleepless nights, probably.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, we built it knowing who we were going to be, so we built it to scale out. So we were very intentional before we, really took on public clients, that, it was built in a way that it could scale, that our software was good, that our CRM and tracking system was on point. But you're right. I tell people there are 50 states. Some are title company states, some are attorney states, some are abstract, some are escrow. Like all of them are different, and they all like to do it different. And places like California do it both ways, right? Depending upon your North Carolina or North California or Southern California, it can be different. And then
Wow.
beyond that, you have 3,200 counties who all love to do it their own little way, right? So, like Birmingham, Alabama, they have this weird water shut off lien release that you have to get on every closing to make sure that the seller didn't owe the water company money. Western Pennsylvania has its own set of strange rules. So, county by county, you have to know what all those things are, because first off, you're going to get to the day of closing and someone's going to be like, oh, hey, we needed this rental inspection, or hey, we needed this, right? So you need to know what those things are to be prepared, because it's our job to move your deal through the process just as quickly as we can. So yeah, we keep a great database of all those things. And again, the people that we hire for our coordinators, they're different, right? They're not the whole, like you and me, wholesalers, entrepreneurs, hustlers. Like our mindset is very like, we're just moving fast and just, we're laying waste behind us because we're just going through deals so quick, and we're terrible at paperwork, right? Like our accountants hate us, our bookkeepers hate us, the lawyers hate us, because at least for me, I'm terrible at paperwork. But the people that we hire for our coordinators, they're like the opposite personality, right? They love spreadsheets, they love problem solving, they love getting on the phone and working through these types of things. So yeah, they do great at those things. I'm in this group Slack chat, and every time one of them finds out something, they're sharing it, and it gets put into the database. So they're great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to this. So what's next for the
Yeah.
company? Or is it more title company states? Is that what you're going to be doing? Is like launching your title company in more states, getting licensed in more states?
Yeah, that's the goal for us. We've actually brought somebody on to help us do that licensing. We're going to do a big hiring push in the title company as it starts to expand. So for us, again, even on the transaction side, it gets complicated. Once you step into title, it gets very complicated and you're on the hook, right? So if I close a deal in Indiana, right, and I forget or I don't know to check, I don't know, the sewage lien release, right? Whatever it is. If I give them clear title and it comes back later that $800-900 bill had to be paid, that's me. Like I'm gonna have to pay that. So we're gonna pick about probably the top 10 or 12 states, and we're going to actually hire licensed title agents in all of those states so that we have some boots on the ground. And some states require that, like Texas. We just opened an office in Texas where you have to actually have brick and mortar offices and employees on the ground there. So yeah, so that's our big focus now. And as we're rolling that out, the people in the transactions company are like, yeah, I can work with you. I can have everything in the self-contained ecosystem. I can get my deals closed quicker, less nonsense, less back and forth. Because even our partner title companies, they're still, it's like your contractor, right? Yeah, they work for you, but you don't control them, right? So the more of that part of the business that we can control, the better. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's where we're going.
So you work with a lot of real estate investors. Like, is part of the plan to put easy REI closings in the front of like traditional transactions too, like normal
Yeah.
real estate agents, regular, people who are just buying and selling houses? Like, there's a big chunk of business out there to get.
Yeah. Yeah. Originally that was what we were going to do next. And then we were looking at a bunch of different things, like some kind of pillars around what we were doing and where we could expand. And we thought real estate realtors like brokerages would be a natural extension. It's similar business, but a little bit different, where they'll schedule inspections and some things that we don't do now for wholesalers, because most of them, they don't really do that. And that was going to be where we went this year. And instead we decided to open the title company. So once the title company's up and running, that's something that we can expand to. So yeah, there are lots of, you know, other areas where we can, go towards, like, to like an EXP and say, hey, we can be your transaction coordination solution, and ultimately title company in certain states, nationwide, Keller Williams, or, maybe we go find someone like a Home Investors, or,
Hmm.
Key, or, Joe Home Buyer, all of the franchises, and say, hey, we can be that solution for you, because we can get your deals closed, a higher percentage of your deals closed, and get them done quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of room
It
for
sounds like a good angle. Have you talked to like Jamil or anybody, these
yeah,
people who are with these
yeah.
large companies?
Yep. I talked to, last time I was in Phoenix, I think his name is Anthony, who's the VP of franchises. So I was over at the New Reach office. So I'm going to go back there in 2 weeks when we're back, and sit
Cool.
down and have a chat with them. I'm going to go over and meet with the property guys. So yeah, so we got meetings set up with lots of people. So the thing is, kind of like you guys, right? You don't want to expand too quick because you don't want to break your company.
Hmm.
Take on so much that um, our service would decline. So we're very intentional about just kind of adding one piece at a time. And of course, we want to do it as fast as we can, but I don't want to take on 10 new companies, that each have 40 franchisees, and then that's 400 clients, and then we can't give them the level of service that they want.
Is there an angle to potentially go out and raise money to fuel the growth, like from an institutional investor or a hedge fund or, an angel group?
No, I don't think so. I was able to bootstrap it and do everything with this company out of pocket. Luckily, because I had such a big wholesale company that ultimately really just funded the startup. Um, no, for me, I'm not interested in giving up a big piece of the company to do that. I think we can do the growth, organically in-house. We're profitable enough that, the money we have now will always fuel the next level. And ultimately for us, we will look at an exit at some point. I mean,
Who,
that's what we're building towards.
who do you think are potential buyers? Like, is it like the First Americans and the Fidelities of the world?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Any of those little conversations, they've been planting the seeds with you, like, hey, like, don't forget about us. We're watching you.
First American's very interested in us. They're watching us, and that's why they've come and wanted to be partners with us. So so that could be something down the road, or could be a a Zillow or somebody like that who, because we do something that nobody else does. We'll handle the transaction from start to finish, because that's what keeps people like that from getting in the investor business, right? Because dealing with realtors isn't too bad, right? The realtor will do a lot of that legwork, or they've got an internal person. But when you start dealing with investors, again, we bring the crazy. It's the death, divorce, getting all the heirs, and and a normal title company doesn't have the bandwidth to deal with that. Like, they just don't. And that's what our clients have found. It's interesting. The thing that I hear frequently from them is, first thing is, oh my God, I didn't realize how much time this was taking me, right? Because you think the title company's doing it, but they're sending you back this email, hey, go get this thing, go get this thing, go get this thing, go get this thing. So that first thing is, my God, I didn't realize how much time that was taking me, because now they have their time back. And two, I didn't realize somebody else could do this for me, right? I didn't even know that this was a thing, that transaction coordination was a thing. And I got 25 or 30% of my time back, and now I can put that time back into my business.
So what's the flow here? How does it, if somebody listening here, they're thinking, oh, I want to work with you guys, do they contact you beforehand and build a relationship, or do they wait until they have a contract and then contact you? What's like the flow there?
Great question. So one of the things that makes us different, and one of the ways that we're able to do this at about half the price of anybody else, is we work on a flat monthly fee. So depending upon the number of deals that you're going to do, and we have it chunked down like 1 to 5, 6 to 10, and then it goes, I think, 11 to 20, 21 to 30. So anyway, so depending upon what level you're in, it's a monthly subscription, right? And we can do it at half the price of anybody else based on that. So no, you'll give us a call. I'm sure you'll post a link here somewhere, but yeah, give us a call. We'll get you set up as a client, and you can start uploading those contracts. I want it the minute that you sign that contract with your seller, right? So the moment you've got it, scan it, drag and drop it into our portal, scan it on your phone, whatever you need to do. So what'll happen is, now that contract's going to come to us. And on our side, what happens, my team lead manager, he's going to assign it to a coordinator and to a title company. So the next thing that's going to happen is, like, within 24 hours, Claudia is going to jump on the phone. She's going to say, hey, Mrs. Smith, I'm working with Benson on your deal over here at 123 Main Street. Hey, Mrs. Smith, I'm going to be your point of contact from here all the way to closing. So you're out, right? Go get your next deal, go sell your deal, go do your thing. Hey, Mrs. Smith, I need to collect some information from the title company so I can get you paid just as quickly as possible. Right. So that's kind of the start. So we have some forms. We'll collect a lot of information, and that form really answers all the questions of the things that we need to go and dig into, right? Hey, are you in bankruptcy? Are you in foreclosure? Are there any liens? Do you have back taxes? Like, what are all those things? And all of those trigger like this whole other set of information that we need to gather. Because again, for us, how do I get these deals going through the system faster and faster and faster? And it's in the collection of documents and information, right? The more of that information I have, when I present it either to internally to our title people or to an external title company, now they're like, oh, I have all the information. Oh, this is easy. I can get this done very quickly, right? Where historically, before we had transaction coordinators, the title company's calling me and they're like, hey, Bob Smith, is he married? And you're like, oh crap, I don't know. Hold on. I go call Bob. Bob, are you married? No, I'm divorced. Okay, great. No, he's divorced. And they're like, well, was he divorced before or after they bought the property? I'm like, oh, hey, Bob, when did you get divorced? Oh, I divorced that bleepity bleep bleep 2 weeks ago. Great. No, he just divorced her. And then like, oh, well, great. We need a divorce decree. I'm like,
lots of
it's all of that back and forth. Yeah, it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. And now we can take all of that off your plate. But we understand that, when we ask, hey, are you the only owner of record? No, there's, Penelope. Well, great. Who is Penelope? Oh, that's my ex-wife. Great. Like, we just know to answer all those questions after doing thousands and thousands of deals.
Right.
Yeah.
So wholesalers, fix and flippers, just investors in general, we're entrepreneurs, right? And we're notorious for wanting to do everything ourselves. I mean, we can figure anything out, right? So for those people that are out there listening to this, and I've closed many transactions directly with a title company, and there were no issues.
Right.
So for that person that's listening and they're thinking, I don't need a TC. I can do it on my own. Like, what would you tell them?
Absolutely. You 100% can. You can also go buy all the ingredients and bake your own pizza tonight. You can go get the pasta and make your own Olive Garden at home. You can go change your own oil. Of course you can, right? There's nothing complicated. Are you going to mess it up? I don't know. I'd say there's a high likelihood if it gets complicated. Are there easy deals? Of course, right? Absolutely, of course there are. But even on an easy deal, you're still going to have to collect some documents, right? At a minimum, right? Collect some documents, some driver's license, some social security numbers, coordinate the closing and get all of those things done. Where again, how much is your time worth? Like, would
Right.
you be better spent out getting your next deal for 20 or 30,000 or worrying about $500 transaction fee, right? And, on top of that, we'll show you how you can take those fees, pass them on to your end buyer. So we're basically paid for by your buyer, or you can, if you charge them enough, you can actually turn transactions into a profit center. So now you're not dealing with it at all. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to sweat over it. You don't have to be Googling what monument of title is to try to figure that out. You can have literally the best team in the country that deals with more files than anybody taking care of you, gives you this incredible air of professionalism, so that your deals are getting closed, and you could turn it into a profit center. And some of our people who are doing, even 8 or 10 deals a month, they're getting back an extra $50,000 in these transaction fees. So I don't know why, but you certainly can do it. One thing that's interesting is I'll talk to some people and they wear this, I'm a control freak as a badge of honor. And I get it. Like, I was there at the beginning too, right? All investors, we all got this little bit of narcissism, right? Nobody's smarter than me. Nobody can do it as good as me. Nobody works harder than me. All that nonsense, right? But you have a high paying job. You don't have a company, right? If you want to have a company where you're an actual owner, then you're going to either have to hire somebody in-house to do certain things or outsource, right? And not just transactions. Maybe you're doing Google PPC, right? You should probably hire that out because it's complicated. It changes a lot. Bookkeeping, you should not be doing your own bookkeeping or accounting or property management, right? Like, to effectively run a business, you're going to have to outsource some things or hire some people. Outsourcing to us is far cheaper than hiring your own person in-house. And then kind of the final thing is, I'm like, Elon Musk is not going down putting license plates on Teslas as they're coming off the line, right? That guy runs a business and he hires the very, very best, to make him, a lot of money and be effective. So yeah, the startling fact is, and I talked about this the other day when I was on stage, is 50% of your deals are going to die if you're wholesaling. That's a fact, right? That's a number from RE Simply, Sherrod, and Freedom Soft and REI Black Book. 50% of wholesale deals die. Now, of those 50%, half of them are going to be because you couldn't sell it. So maybe you were priced too high, right? There's some issue fundamentally there. But the other half, so 25% of your deals are going to die because of title issues, because you don't understand how to navigate those, right? So that's where we can step in and close the vast majority of those, because we understand how to do that. So yeah, you can definitely do it yourself. But I'm telling you, just like with Jeremy Dr. No, I threw a lot of contracts away, tens of thousands of dollars a year, because somebody told me, oh, you can't do that type of deal, or you can't do that here, or this doesn't work. And I accepted it. There's always a better way.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find you if they want to go follow you on social? I know you've got a pretty good Instagram following. You're doing some cool stuff on there. And what website can they go and find you?
Yeah, for like Instagram's probably the best place to find me. It's at David Olds REI, just like it sounds. And then yeah, our company is ezREIclosings.com. So the letter E, the letter Z, REI, and closings with an S.com. And that'll just jump you over to our site. There'll be a little video and you can book a call right there with me and my team. And yeah, we'd love to sit down with you and talk to you about kind of the specifics of your company, because everybody's business is a little different. And let's talk about what you do last year. What do you want to do this year? What are your goals? How can we help you? And maybe we can help you, maybe we can't. We'll shoot you in the right direction one way or the other.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome, David. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Appreciate the insight into the transaction coordination world. It's scary in there. It's scary.
It's
But that's
there's
the whole
always
point, is that you guys can handle all of that and, protect the investor, the wholesaler, from the nastiness of the TC world and the title world, and just let them do what they do best, which is find deals and make money.
that's it. That when we all read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and That's what got a lot of people started in real estate. No place in there was, hey, I really want to become an abstracting title expert. No, we want to go out. We love to make the deals. We love talking to sellers and talking to buyers and, doing a little bit of marketing. Like that's the fun parts of the business. Is TC important? 100%, but it's not a revenue generating activity, right? So you as the owner, you should be out there spending your time generating revenue. If you're not doing that, you're getting caught up in the wrong thing. So, 100%, let us handle your transaction. We'll get more of them closed than you will. You will make more money with us. That's why our slogan is, do more deals, make more money, have more freedom.
Perfect. Well, everybody, thank you for watching this edition of REI Hacker Podcast. Check us out for future episodes where we have really amazing business people, entrepreneurs, real estate investors share their experiences with us so that we can learn from them, not make the same mistakes, but also get inspired to go out there and take some chances and, find that next deal. So keep an eye out for that. And David, thank you again for taking the time.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
That's a wrap on today's Real Estate Revelations. Thank you for tuning into the REI Hacker Podcast. Remember, every property has a story, and every deal is a lesson. Until next time, keep hacking the real estate world.